Am I wrong for making a depressed friend homeless for my own comfort? In November, a friend, 28M, mentioned that he was currently homeless and alternating between living with his sister and her big family in a trailer and his car with his cat. I, 31F, offered to let him live in my storage room/spare bedroom to get back on his feet. There was no rent or utilities discussed. He's never paid a dime. Him staying here has always been understood to be a temporary thing, but no actual time limit had been discussed. He's been a very considerate roommate. He stays in his room most of the time, he cleans up his messes, he's polite, etc., and I absolutely cannot stand living with him. I've lived alone since I was 19, and I hate having someone else in my private space. I thought I'd be okay, but I'm tense and on edge all the time listening for his footsteps, breathing anything. I had a very abusive childhood, and until I moved into my own apartment, I was never safe at home. I get unreasonably annoyed at the tiniest, pettiest things. I want my house back. I want to make soup and French toast at 3 a.m. I want to vacuum at 10 p.m. Super petty stuff like that. However, he has nowhere to go. He's getting a student loan check in 2 weeks, but other than that, has no income. Rent is through the roof, and we live in a housing desert. When I moved out at 19, I paid $780 for a one-bedroom apartment by myself. He's looking at over $1,200 for an apartment the same size. I genuinely think he won't be able to afford or qualify for any apartment in town. And he hasn't done anything really wrong to me. I'm just neurotic. Would I be the a-hole for telling him I'd like to leave by the 1st of February? How about the 1st of March? Update. We just had the uncomfortable conversation, and I went in softly. I did not end up giving him a deadline at this time. I reminded him this was a temporary thing and grilled him on what he's been doing to look for an apartment. He admitted that he had been doing nothing, and he absolutely had no plans, no leads, and hasn't made any attempt. However, I think he will leave soon of his own volition. He is very conflict avoidant, and I am furious. After he admitted that he hadn't been looking for a place to live, nor was he looking for a job, I told him that the place where I work, my second job, was hiring. Then he told me he had to make a confession. I smoke weed. No crap, Sherlock, I can smell it every day. It's super strong, and my entire house smells like weed. It just wasn't a problem since I smoke sometimes too. Would have been nice if you asked, but whatever. Anyway, he says he can't get a job because he smokes weed and thinks he can't pass a drug test. I suggested he stop smoking weed for a couple weeks, and then he kinda went, meh. So, if he legitimately believes he can't get a job because of weed in his urine, he is choosing daily weed over being a self-sufficient adult. I think it's an excuse. He would rather smoke pot than get a job. So I should support him? That's the actual choice he's making? I reminded him several times that him staying with me was always a temporary thing. He needed to start planning to leave, but he could take a couple months. Get on his feet. I'll help him get on his feet and get a plan in place. I explained why. I was incredibly clear and repeated myself several times. Now I'll be pinning down his conflict-avoidant ass for uncomfortable conversations about job applications and housing resources at least twice a week. I'm going to be getting info from managers and employees at a bunch of different places about how they don't care about weed in the urine. It's legal where we live. I'm going to be researching and finding info on housing resources, apartments for sale, and all that. Research is one of my strongest skills. I'm going to be so freaking helpful that the only way he'll be able to avoid getting a job is to move himself out. And if that doesn't work by the time he gets his big check in a couple weeks, I'll give him the March deadline. I think Miss Nice Girl just flew out the window, and I am going to be making French toast at 3 a.m. with no shame. Update 2. He came out of his room a little while after our conversation and told me he's moving back in with his sister tonight. I told him he didn't need to. I wasn't kicking him out. I just wanted him to start planning and getting ready to be on his own. He was in a passive-aggressive rage, though, and packed all his things except his cat and moved out. I now have another cat. I don't know if at some point he'll want the cat back or not. Anyway, he's gone and I'm on my way to Home Depot. I'm changing the locks tonight. I was always told that if you don't have a job and you're looking for one, finding a job is your job until you are officially employed. I don't know, it seems like this guy just didn't want to get a job, got a little complacent being unemployed and housing for free, and was like, oh god, I have to return to the workforce? Oh no, and then left to his sisters in a passive-aggressive rage, and then left his cat? What? Why? Why do you leave your animal? Take it with you, you fool. Next story. Story number 2. My 26F fiance, 28M, told me I wouldn't be able to pull anyone else and I'm offended. How do I manage my emotions? Me and my fiance have been together for almost 5 years, engaged for 6 months. We've never had any issues where one of us was mad for a long time until this, and he, my mom, and friends think that I'm overreacting. I had a dream some nights ago that I ended up dating a famous actor by accident. We've both had dreams where crazy things happened and told each other about it. I told him in the morning and we laughed about it. However, he made a comment about how my dreams are always extremely delusional. I asked him to elaborate, thinking it would be something funny, and instead was met with a comment about how I wouldn't be capable of pulling someone half as attractive as said actor, let alone him. I was taken aback, and he doubled down and told me to be realistic, that most men wouldn't even look my way because I look like I'm already taking and stopped looking interesting some time ago. And now even more with the engagement. I told him that I don't want any men to look my way, but the implication of his words hurt me. He told me it was irrelevant because we're together and I wouldn't leave him, and to stop being offended over something I asked, and left. For the record, my weight, hair, and general appearance have stayed the same, and I'm low-key high maintenance, so this isn't me letting go or something. I called my mom for reassurance and she agreed I was overreacting. I called my friends for the same purpose and was met with the same response. I feel very hurt because I love my fiance and find him very attractive, and I know other people do. I am grateful that he chose to be with me, and that makes me value him even more. I was under the impression that he thought the same way about me, but apparently he thinks I wouldn't ever leave him because I can't pull anybody? That, somehow, is making me feel like he doesn't value me as I do. And worst of all, that I may be wrong for how I feel, but I can't control it. Am I overreacting? If so, how can I manage this so this doesn't affect us long term? It's been almost a week, and he is still being short with me because I look like I'm miserable about a petty thing. I just want things to go back to normal. Update. The actor, by the way, was Adam Driver. I've had a few DMs asking this in case it's relevant. Edit 2. My closest friend group is a 4-girls group, where I'm the only one with a relationship / that has been in one. Another detail someone messaged me to include. I do have other friends, but I haven't told them anything given the response I got from my closest circle. Finally, I have a long history of being super sensitive. I've cried over things my whole life, which is not surprising for my closest ones to immediately call me out on it. I'm on therapy addressing that, my pushover nature, and my self-esteem issues. But thank you to everyone that has commented and given me support and reassurance. I will be forcing him to talk to me today to see if this is in any way salvageable or if I just lost half a decade of my life. Here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "That doesn't sound healthy. He has shown this type of response in the past. As a man, I feel like my response would have been something along the lines of, if you left me for Brad Pitt, I wouldn't even be mad. And also, as a man, I would expect the same from my SO, not some demeaning response." OP said, "Never. That's why I was so taken aback. He has refused to talk about the issue as he says it is a non-issue. We have openly discussed celebrity crushes in the past and even this particular actor, who I don't find attractive. I honestly came out of the blue. I had no idea he thought that." User 2 said, "Your fiancé called you ugly and said that he is allowed to treat you poorly because you're too afraid to leave him. This is who you want to spend the rest of your life with? You also said you called your mom for reassurance and she agreed you were overreacting. People often get into relationships that mirror their parents in some way. The fact that you got into a relationship with someone who acts like this is probably in part a result of your mom raising you to have low self-esteem and to prioritize the security of a relationship over being well treated. Her advice is bad." OP replied with, "I've had self-esteem issues in the past. I'm currently in therapy and doing so much better. Even so, my fiance helped me really be comfortable in my body. This feels so out of character for him, and it's the first time he's reacted angry towards me. I'm honestly at a loss." User 3 commented, "How is it a non-issue if you're upset? That makes it an issue." OP commented, "I have a long history of being upset at non-issues because I've been told multiple times that I'm overly sensitive. It's getting better, and I'm getting better. This was really out of the blue, but it did set me back a couple of steps." And then finally, user 4 said, "Who told you they were non-issues? Any specific examples?" OP. Usually my family. I'm the second oldest, but oldest girl in the family. When expectations were different for me than my older brother or younger sister and I tried to object, those would be called non-issues, and I always was the one to compromise and deal with it. In the relationship, I can just think of one previous instance for something that was a non-issue, which was a minor fight regarding chores, where I got pissed at him because he didn't wash dishes properly. This then became a "you're ungrateful because he helps" from my immediate female family members. The trees of adulthood are often planted with the seeds from our childhood, and this seems to be the instance here. It seems like OP was raised into being an emotionally fragile or sensitive person, or at least something along those lines. But she mentioned she's going to therapy for it, which is good. Maybe the husband is trying to suppress her, because if she's dreaming about Adam Driver, then it's Chris Evans next. And then she's going to therapy and she's feeling herself and she's confident. She's like, I can have any man I want. And then she leaves him. And then the husband's like, oh my God, I don't have a wife. So he's got to keep her happiness contained and keep her in her place and be like, wash the dishes, woman, or something like that. I don't know. This doesn't indicate that a healthy relationship is present. And I feel like we're going to learn a bit more about the husband very soon. Let's continue. Update, December 23rd, 2023. Hi everyone, I've been getting messages regarding my previous post and also people asking how I'm doing. I'm doing good, and I would like to thank everyone who took the time to comment, reassure me, and even share resources for me. And the TLDR is that I'm going into the holidays as a single woman. I did try to talk it out and solve it like adults, but my ex was uncooperative and childish to say the least. For those of you who want the details, here goes. First, you gave me the courage to reach out to my other friends outside my closest circle, and they were shocked by what happened and told me not to brush it off. They echoed many of your comments and even called it negging too. Also, my therapist backed up my feelings and said I needed a straight-up chat with my partner and to set some clear boundaries and decide what's best for me and what I wish to enforce as my non-negotiables. Second, I did follow someone's advice and started going out more with my supportive friends. My birthday actually fell in between these dates, and I decided to celebrate it by bar hopping in my city, and it went great. My ex was invited, we were still together at the time, and was sulking the whole time because I did get external attention, which I shut down. Finally, what happened with my now ex? After talking with my therapist, I did explain my feelings to him again and reiterated that those comments will not be tolerated if we were to continue the relationship. I also said we needed counseling as a couple because this could stem from insecurities from both sides. He did not apologize, but rather justified his actions under 3 arguments, and yes, these came from a 28-year-old man. 1. I do look less interesting, and it's unfair to use my birthday as an example of me attracting anyone because I was catfishing as a younger woman, as the girls I invited are mostly 22 to 24. 2. Adam Driver, the actor I dreamt about, is taller than him. We are both 5'7", and he is insecure about it, so dreaming with taller people than him is disrespectful and emasculating. Number 3. In his words, even if I'm objectively attractive, ever since I started therapy, I became cocky and more demanding, so he took the chance to bring me back to earth. All of this was a shock to me. I felt as if the man I was in love with for the last 5 years was not there anymore. This was a complete 180 from what he was before, and I do believe this is a mix of slipping off the mask after the engagement and the fact that he changed jobs to a male-dominated corporation, and those new friends did give me a weird vibe regarding their stance on women and equality. Regardless of what prompted this change, I ended it. Returned the ring, packed a bag with my essentials I had at his place, and left while he threw a tantrum. He was super uncooperative in returning some of my remaining stuff. He sent things in trash bags full of glitter and won't let me enter his apartment anymore. He also sent me all of the Star Wars movies with Adam Driver in them broken and destroyed. This made all of the pain I felt almost immediately disappear, which feels weird because I did love him and it was a long relationship, yet I grieved for like a week only. I did count my losses and just accepted some things I won't get back, blocked him, and haven't heard or seen him since. Thank God it's a big city. My immediate circle of friends was cut off, as they valued more going to a wedding than my well-being. I am low contact with my mom, and am being supported by my dad and siblings. I've continued therapy, did a Friendsgiving celebration, and I'm bracing myself for the holidays with my family. I'm mostly okay, relearning to be on my own, to validate my feelings, and currently debating whether to send a thank you card to Adam Driver. Thanks everyone for reading, and happy holidays. Well, looks like I called it, right? And I'm not some psychology expert, but again, I've mentioned this before. You read enough of these, and they go one of 10 different ways. It's jealousy, it's anger, it's insecurity, it's revenge, or something like that. It's, the root is frequently the same. It's just the presentation and the characters that are different. Like, I've seen this before, and I'm not surprised about the insecurities and the height and the fact that he wanted to ground her and bring her back down to earth, in his words. It's just, insecurities is a crazy thing, people, and it makes you do crazy stuff. And when you identify what the person is doing wrong, if you can contain it to one word, then you see it a lot more clearly. You can see it through a narrow lens and say, oh, that's why he's acting like that. Oh, that's why she's treating me like this. This is why they're behaving that way. And this was that. Next story. Story number 3. Am I the a-hole for not going to the wedding of my dad and his affair partner? When I was 17, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. 2 years later, she passed away. During these 2 years, my dad was not around much. He was always working and going on business trips. My aunt and grandma took care of him. And about 5 months after my mother's passing, my dad introduced me to his new girlfriend. I was pissed. I yelled at him for how quickly he moved on from my mom when they decided to tell me that they had been in a relationship for 3 years. My dad had been cheating on my mom while she was dying. His business trips were to meet his affair partner. I was so angry, I packed my stuff and left his house. I haven't spoken to him since that day. Currently, I am 25. The only family I speak to is an aunt who helped me when I left my dad's house. A few days ago, my aunt called me and asked me how I was, and then asked me if I had heard from my dad. I said, why would I hear from him again? And my aunt said dad is getting married to his affair partner, and by going to his wedding, it would help us mend our relationship. I said, why would I do that? He is dead to me. There was a silence on the phone for a bit before my dad replied asking if that was what I felt about him. I immediately cut the call when I heard his voice. I realized he was with my aunt when she made the call to me. I texted my aunt telling her I asked her not to tell dad anything about me, and she agreed back then. She texted me back saying I was an a-hole for saying what I said, and my dad is crushed hearing that, and I should move on by now. I did not want to argue with someone who helped me, so I blocked her. Over the next 2 days, I got sent a wedding invitation to my mailbox. The only person in the family who knew my address was my aunt, and she gave my number to various members of the family. I'm being bombarded with calls and texts from dad, uncles, cousins, aunts saying I should give him a chance and come to the wedding. Some calling me names for what I said. I got a text from the affair partner saying my dad is thinking of postponing the wedding and I should just talk to him. For context, the affair partner was a friend of my mom and knew she had cancer. I said it's not my fault if he postpones the wedding. I don't want to have a relationship with dad or her. They are trying to force it. It got quiet after that, but being told by so many people from my dad's side I am an a-hole did leave me conflicted, but I am sticking to my guns. So, am I the a-hole? Here are some relevant comments. One user said, your aunt violated your trust, and the rest of your family needs to be cut off too. OP said, yeah, I have blocked 39 numbers, but what my aunt did really made me sad. I genuinely thought she cared for me. Another commenter said, it feels like there is a catch here for them to want to reach out now and not years ago. OP replied with, actually, I thought about this too. And I think you may be right, because I got some texts like, it's a son's duty to take care of his father, and your future kids would want their grandfather in their life. And then in the comment section on the topic of safety, OP said, thank you. I'm in the process of changing my number and updating contacts. As for where I live, it's a pretty secure apartment. You can only come in after me or someone buzzes you in. Then you have to write down your name with security and the elevator works with a key fob only. I am hoping that I don't have to move, but I'm keeping my options open if it escalates. And on the official Reddit post, OP is voted not the a-hole. Update about 1 month later. Hello, first of all, I want to thank all who commented on the first post and all who messaged me. It really helped me stick with my decision to not go to the wedding. I wanted to update earlier, but it's been pretty hectic with work. So, after the many texts and calls from multiple family members, I sent a text to all of the numbers detailing what my dad did and why I chose to be no contact with them. I then blocked all the numbers. I have changed my number since then, but kept the old number in a separate phone to collect evidence if they start to harass me from random numbers. But luckily nothing has happened, and I thought that was that. A week or so after that, my aunt's fiance came to my apartment. He knows what time I get off work and was waiting for me in the parking lot. I was apprehensive, but he assured me he only wanted to talk. And according to him, the text I sent has caused a train wreck in that family. He told me that some of the cousins who did not know what happened in the past started to question Dad and the affair partner, and they started to get defensive and deny it. But someone revealed that it was true. This has caused a massive argument within the family, with some cousins pulling out of the wedding. Dad wanted to postpone the wedding so he can talk to me, but the affair partner threatened to leave him if he did that. The news of what Dad and affair partner did also reached some of their friends who were at one point friends of my mom as well. Some of them have also pulled out of the wedding, and this has caused the affair partner to have a breakdown and started banning anyone who brings it up, family members included, from the wedding. According to Aunt's fiance, she is blaming this all on me, saying I did this intentionally. I laughed at that. The wedding is still somehow happening. I asked him about my aunt and how all this started, and he said all he knows is that there was a conversation of how bad the family would look if I wasn't at the wedding, and that my aunt offered to call me. He said that he disagreed, but she did it anyway. He said that he is only here because he felt I needed to know what happened. I thanked him, but said I will be going completely no contact with her, and by extension, him as well. He agreed, wished me well, and left. I am not going to lie and say I am completely okay. I miss my aunt, I miss my mom, but I know what I did was the right thing. I am currently staying with my girlfriend, and she has been cheering me up by coming up with absurd ways to ruin the wedding. As a lot of you said, I should try therapy, and I'm going to take that advice. Some of the comments has made me realize that I have bottled up a lot of grief and anger. I am super nervous about it, but I also feel it'll do me good. So, once again, thank you all for your comments and advice. Ciao. Hey everyone, I thought I'd also share some of the things that my girlfriend said about the wedding. The very first idea she came up with was, let's go to the landfill and catch some rats, then release them at the wedding. It got progressively worse from that. Obviously, this is just for fun, and I have no intention of going anywhere near that wedding. But reading some of the ideas here is giving me a good laugh. One of the people in the comment sections made a very good point. It's the fact that they decided to contact now instead of all those years, and it makes me think they wanted something or needed something from OP or wanted him to do something, because we've seen that before. People go no contact and they're like, hey, can we talk? And they're like, okay, what's up? Can I have money? Can you watch me? I'm sick. Can you take care of me? And I'm like, oh, great. Now I know why you wanted to contact me, you jerk. But you know what? OP seemingly has a happy ending. He's got his girlfriend with him. He's going to therapy. I always recommend that. And I also don't know if I naturally say the word aunt or aunt. I said both throughout the whole thing. But also, we've learned that the dad's girlfriend is crazy, which is not surprising, to be honest. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to hug a dog today, or a turtle, or your mom, or your dad. Hug your neighbor, even if you've never met him. Just run up and hug him. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.